Okay, you won your league starting Eddie Royal and Knowshon Moreno. Congrats to you. Why are you even listening to this? But no. Week
Why are you listening to it anyway? What the hell? What level have you gotten to in your life that you're listening to that you're watching this video?
Yeah.
We are the Kurt Menefees and Jim Nances of the fantasy sports industry, really trying to upsell this for you. But all right, what did we learn from week 2? What is this? Is Eddie Royal for real? Are we really going to buy into this? He's got 5 touchdowns now. I mean, there was a big lag between buying into Brandon Lloyd the year that he broke out, and between when he started doing it, when everyone started to believe. He was like the Jose Bautista of football. Is Eddie Royal that guy?
Well, as the resident Charger fan here, the only way he becomes that guy is if Malcolm Floyd's neck injury happens to be a long-term injury and he has to step in and take in the starting snaps. Other than that, no, I think it's like a Kevin Ogletree effect, if you will.
Why are you guys wearing red shirts, dude? I put on a shirt.
Dude, are you colorblind? This is orange. Well, Bengals.
It all looks the same. It all looks the same to me. These 3 shirts look the same to me, and I put on a shirt. It's embarrassing. It's just, frankly, it's embarrassing. Look,
you're just seeing red because your Giants stinking lost. They should have been wearing the red uniforms that they wear once every 6 years during the preseason, and maybe that would have helped them against the Broncos.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Couple things. First off, Eddie Royal has gotten 5 touchdowns. Look, let's just entitle this. Let's tell everybody who the next Eddie Royal is and the next Knowshon Moreno is for the next 2 weeks, but not yet. Keep watching. We'll tell you. I'm serious. Like, we gotta. This thing is like such a farce. We gotta market it. We gotta do it like. But
you gotta do it
in 1 minute
to find out real advice till about 20 minutes in. That's exactly right.
And the thing is, there's nobody knows who the next Eddie. I just shouldn't give it away who the next Eddie Royal or Knowshon Moreno is, because if they did, they would not be available to be drafted. They would not be available on the waiver wire. They would be owned by somebody else. But I think it's a good subject. Like, who could it be? Is there somebody that could be that guy that breaks out next week that nobody, that was maybe undrafted, or if he were drafted, not very highly?
So do they have to be similar size and shape to Eddie Royal? Do they have to be small? Or okay.
No, it could be a different race, can be a different size. It doesn't really matter.
Species,
and I hate that.
Whatever.
I hate. Well, same species I think is a requirement, but I hate that when they're like, oh, Dirk Nowitzki's like Larry Bird. I mean, you could be, I just think that's, come on, that's a very narrow-minded way to look at players.
Every white receiver is the next Wes Welker, right?
Yeah, I mean, why can't he be Devon Best? Devon Best has that same game, that short game. I mean, that's the same, you got to be open-minded. Anyway, okay. But it can be any kind of player, but the point is it's somebody who, he may be owned at the back end of your roster, or he may not even be owned at all, but that could be that guy that by next week we're like, oh, we got to run and pick this player up. Who could that be? I mean,
Nate Burleson. Nate Burleson, because he faces the Redskins, who are just awful defensively. Every single player on the Packers did something last week. This week it's going to be Nate Burleson and Brandon Pettigrew. It's just going to annoy the hell out of all the Calvin Johnson and Reggie Bush owners.
So
I'm not against that. I have a Calvin Johnson one league, but I'm not against that. I think that Pettigrew, man, dropped another pass, though, this week, I think.
He made a nice catch on another play, though. I caught a couple of highlights of him. Yeah, he's going to have a drop.
He's a poor man's Jermichael Finley. And that's already setting the bar low.
That's Michael Finley scored, so there you go.
That's pretty low. But, I mean, this guy, he may be too mainstream at this point, but I don't think Marlon Brown is a fluke, even when Jacoby Jones eventually comes back. You can't teach his size, and you can't teach his skill set. So that's a guy who, if he's not owned, or if he's someone who you can potentially buy for not a very expensive price, that'd be a guy I'd go after.
Yeah, I could buy in that, because who the hell is Jacoby Jones anyhow?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a kick returner. He's a punt returner. Every once in a while he catches a deep ball. He's a poor man's Darnay Scott.
Okay, poor man's. Yeah. Well, one guy I like, he's not that under the radar, and you probably started him, but I think Antonio Gates is going to go off. I think Antonio Gates, he didn't go off. He had a good game, but he didn't go off. I think Antonio Gates could get some of those short Eddie Royal touchdowns. And it's funny that you mentioned Brandon Lloyd, and the people were slow on the buy-in, because wasn't Mike McCoy, the Chargers head coach, was he the offensive coordinator back then?
Yeah.
When Lloyd had his breakout?
He was.
And I remember Scott Pianowski was saying it was Lloyd, it was Kyle Orton had a good year, then Tebow the next year had a good year. I mean, the closest thing resembling a good year that he's ever had. And it's all under Mike McCoy, and everybody thought, okay, they're going to get blown out by the Eagles, They come and they win in Philly. They almost beat the Texans. They probably should have. This Chargers team is suddenly, Mike, I mean, it's kind of legit. I mean, what do you think?
Color me still skeptical. I mean, Phillip Rivers being that efficient with his passing, we haven't seen that since the days of Marty Schottenheimer and early Norv Turner. So I'm not.
3 years ago, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. 2 years ago, he was a little off.
Three
Last
years.
Year, 3 years ago. That's a long time in football.
Yeah, exactly. That's an average career for an NFL player. So I mean, it's been a while. So color me skeptical still. But this is a good win against a really bad defense. Let's not forget that the Chargers also gave up a fair amount of yardage and points on their end. And they didn't exactly shut down the Eagles' offense. And I don't think they're going to shut down anybody's offense this year. John Pagano is a good coach, but the personnel just isn't there. Their best pass rusher is on Denver and Sean Phillips, and then additionally Melvin Ingram tore his ACL before the year started. So they still have really no pass rush to speak of, and they don't have any cornerbacks of name, and Eric Weddle can only do so much back there by himself. There's really not much to get excited about on that defense. That defense will always keep the oppositions in games, and as you saw against Houston, snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory is the Chargers' specialty. So no, I don't think it's for real. And Phillip Rivers is going to throw interceptions. I mean, let's just put that out there.
Yeah, and let's face it, I don't think anybody's really going to stop Philly this year. I just think Philly's just not going to stop anybody in their own right. Now, Thursday night, this is going to be interesting. We already talked about short rest, the Chargers having short rest, but this is 4 days for Thursday night game, Chiefs and Eagles here. I mean, we could see another case there where we have short rest going on for the Chiefs defense. But for that matter, the Eagles offense, they're going to be bone tired. I mean, I think that we already saw that a little bit. Vic was getting pounded at the end of the game there. I wonder if it's going to be pretty ugly, pretty sloppy game on Thursday night.
It's always a sloppy game on Thursday night, but I'll tell you, as bad as a Thursday night Jets-Patriots atrocity was, that I can't believe I watched the whole thing. The Sunday night game was worse. I mean, that Seahawks-49ers game, it was brutality. There was like literally 20 penalties and an hour delay, and just a horrible play over, a lot of turnovers, fumbles, block punt, just crap. And I hope the Thursday game's better than that. I do think there's a potential for it to be an exciting game. I mean, I think this could be like the Eagles, if you can't stop anybody and nobody can stop you and you call a lot of plays, I mean, you want players going against the Eagles. That's who you want to play against. In your IDPs, you want players tackling the Eagles. In your offense, you want players who are going to get more snaps against the Eagles. This is like as good as it gets for an opposing team.
Do you start Donnie Avery this week then?
It just depends on context, but I think you consider it.
Yeah.
I think you would consider it. You consider all these guys.
I'm saying, and we talked about this a little bit briefly on the radio show today, but who are the alternative options after Alex Smith, Dwayne Bowe, and Jamal Charles? Who are we looking at? Avery caught a touchdown in week 1.
Fasano.
Junior Hemingway. We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
we
there was
don't
8.
know.
Gates had 8 catches against the Eagles. Maybe they look for the tight end a little bit more. Maybe it is Fasano. Maybe that is a good option.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Andy Reid's teams in the past, go back to the Philadelphia days, how many times did he have 4 legitimate fantasy starters?
A decent amount. He had, Macklin and Deshaun Jackson. Always one was hurt, but he had both of them. He had LaShawn McCoy. He had Selleck, who was borderline some years. He was good some years.
Yeah.
He had Westbrook before that. I mean, they weren't on the same teams, but he had about 4 at a time. I mean, I think most teams yield 3 to 4 starters. I mean, you might get in the Raiders and there's 2. Or you might get the Jacksonville, there's 1 or 2. But most teams yield 3 to 4 starters that you can use. But I think against the Eagles, everybody's elevated. It's like the opposite of the Jets. The Jets don't score, and they stop people. So, it doesn't do anybody any good. There's no shootouts. There's no moving the ball. It's ugly. It's dirty. And you don't want any part of it. But the Eagles, it's great. The ball moves fast. They score. You got to score. They score. You got to keep up. It's perfect. And so the Eagles are the ideal opponent. Last year was the Saints. Saints had no defense. They had a good offense. It was just a carnival. You play the Saints, you're going to have huge numbers.
This year it's also going to be the Giants, so their defense sucks.
Yes.
And, they have to throw a ton.
Don't diss the Giants' defense that badly. They were actually shut down Romo in the first game. 5 points.
How many times have I heard you say that in the last 2 weeks?
It's been 2 games. They shut down Romo. Look up Romo's numbers. They're terrible. Okay, and then in the first half, they were down 10-9 to Peyton Manning, and then they had a bunch of turnovers. They let a kick return touchdown go, and Knowshon Moreno gashed him twice, but they did not get lit up by Peyton Manning. I mean, you look at Peyton Manning, did not light him up. I don't think their D is that bad.
Let's give the Giants defense a break, okay? There have been 10 turnovers by the Giants in the first 2 games. You can't ask a defense to do a ton if the offense is turning the ball over 5 times a game. I mean, I don't want to overreact too much to the Giants defense.
Also, I mean, if you look at all the points scored against them, 2 were defensive touchdowns. A couple were set up by short fields that were field goals. There was a special teams touchdown against them, this week. I mean, yeah, they gave up points, but it's not like, it's not like they're giving up a ton of yards per play. I mean, when you evaluate a defense, it's yards per play.
Yeah.
And they haven't been that bad. They've actually probably been above average in yards per play. I had to look at, and that's despite playing Denver and Dallas. Not that Dallas is anything special. Dallas is a joke. And I said that last week, and I still believe that. And they did lose. The Chiefs aren't bad. I mean, there's no shame in losing by a point to the Chiefs. But
yeah, they actually covered.
They did cover, and I had the Chiefs. So there
I did too. I did too.
Let me ask you this. I got a serious question for you guys, though. Do you think it's in Carson Palmer's contract that he has to throw a pick six every game?
Hey, you know me. I've been doubting all along. You know that the soul-killing pick six. It's in his DNA. He has to do it. I love it.
Were they like, dude, I just need 1 pick six a game, and plus, you get a bonus, for a certain amount of yardage and touch. I mean, it almost seems they won. They won despite it. And
it's a beautiful thing for fantasy too. Unless you have interceptions that lead to pick sixes, like an extra negative points there. Hey, that's great. Okay, so we get the ball and now we have to throw because the game's either closer, or farther behind. Either way, hey, we have to throw the ball more. That gets to pad his stats even more. Hey, win-win as far as I'm concerned. They get the ball back.
My motto in fantasy is if it's going to be a pick, it may as well go for 6.
Unless there's extra bonus points like in my league where if you throw a pick six, it's -6, so you don't want those. But yeah, exactly. But just to follow up with your point before, the Giants actually their yards per play is better than the defense's last year. Last year I believe it was 6 yards a play. This year it's 5.1.
Hey, come on, Mike! I'm trying to get him angry about his Giants. Don't keep pushing him up, making him feel better here.
I know what I'm talking about. Mike's just backing me up here.
I sided
the angry version. I'm just trying to fuel that fire.
Hey.
Throw another little gasoline can on the fire.
Well, let's get Chris angry. How about that David Wilson? How about that breakout year he's having?
Well, let me say I would trade for David Wilson. I tried to give Marcus Colston for him to Andy Behrens in the Stopa Law Firm League, and he just rejected. He didn't even say thanks for the fair offer. I appreciate this. I appreciate the thought, but I'm going to stand pat for now. Not even a no, just a rejection. And I feel a bit insulted by that. That was a very generous offer. David Wilson doesn't even have any semblance of the job right now. I give him a number 1 receiver on a prolific offense. But I do feel pretty good about David Wilson. I think he'll be fine. He's carrying the ball like a freak. He's got the two-handed. Who runs like this with the ball? But pretty soon he'll get the high and tight going with the Tiki Barber picked up. And I mean, he's just good. He's just explosive. He can do everything. It's just a matter of time. They can't dick around with Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs is like 350 pounds. I mean, it's like Brandon Jacobs celebrates when he gets a yard, pumps his fist, and Brandon Jacobs is the most likely running back to get a 15-yard penalty for taunting out of a least gain. A lot of running backs will get it, but they'll at least gain 10 yards. The ratio of taunting to yardage gained is the highest when it comes to
bigger net loss. So it's like a net loss of 12 instead of 4.
Right.
It should be for most people. Yeah. I guess. And by the way, got to feel some compassion for Barron. Someone on Twitter is actually an excellent producer, compared his voice to mine over the weekend. So I can see why he's kind of reeling from that. So that's probably why. So I apologize, Chris, that he took it out on you with that trade offer.
Yeah, it also could be because
it's very personal. I take it very.
Yeah, it also could be because you had lobster as your appetizer for steak that one time.
Oh no, Barron's doesn't pay in that league. Barron's.
Oh, but he will.
Well, the Stopa League is definitely, and also Stopa. I mean, Stopa is very generous, has this big high-stakes league he funds. But $50 for the high week? Are you kidding me? $50 for the high point?
This whole it's worth more later in the season garbage. That ticked me off a little bit, because why is one week worth more than another? I mean,
it's not worth more. I think he was just saying the payouts at the end of the year if you win are big. He said that money is back-ended to the winners.
I seem to remember us getting $100 last week when we won.
I know. I don't know what's going on here. I think it's hard times for him.
I know. I'm looking at gift horse in the mouth and all, but
I think
StayInMyHome.com. Thank you, Mark Stopa and your law firm, for sponsoring our league, and so we can play.
Yeah. But I think he's been gambling too much in Vegas or something. I don't know. Some reason he's jacking us with that $50.
Well, it's those horrible odds that he was getting on those prop bets. I mean, I think that's really why that happened there. But
he got tilted when the casino wouldn't let him put down Spiller for 500 to 22 to 1 to win the rushing title.
He got saved. He saved from himself.
No, Spiller had 100 yards last week.
Spiller
it was like 50 of them on one play, and Fred Jackson got like 45% of the carries and the goal line carry. Aren't you upset as a Spiller owner? You have Spiller in NFFC, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset. I mean, I was going to take Trent Richardson. You know, Trent Richardson's a bum. Trent Richardson 3.6 yards per carry last year, and then this year he's worse. It's like, you know what, maybe he just doesn't have a vision or something, because like he looks good, like he looks powerful and quick, but there's never any result. You know,
I was the idiot that bought into the Browns' resurgence, so I don't know. But I think it's just maybe the real reality is that team is just crap, and he has a hard time because they're playing 19 in the box. Say, oh, you got Brandon Weeden? Fine. Try to run against us. We'll make Weeden beat us there. And now it's going to be Jason Campbell. Even better. Yay.
So back to Spiller, actually, in one of my leagues, I just traded, in a half-point PPR, I traded Sproles and Antonio Brown for C.J. Spiller. Was that too much?
No, it's good.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I mean, you can't be a coward. You know what I mean? You got to go for it. You got to make moves. Look, I'm not. You know, we'll see what happens with Spiller. And you know, the thing is, we don't want to get to the point, Jeff, where you're like, I'm so mad I took Bautista over Upton, and then 2 months later, I'm so glad I took Bautista over Upton. I should have taken Upton over Bautista anyway. I mean, it's week 2. We don't know. The Browns might be better. It's not going to be with Jason Campbell. I guarantee that. But they might be better if we.
It'll be because of Josh Gordon. That'll be why they'll be better.
Yeah, and they won't be able to stack the box. But they had Josh Gordon last year. I don't know if it's that. I think it's Trent Richardson. We'll see. I don't want to indict him over 17 career games. But man, I mean, you know, I took Spiller over Richardson. That was my choice. And over Ray Rice, who's dinged up. I mean, I don't really feel either of those guys. You know, I'm not like regretting that choice at all.
All right. And of the slow starters, who are you selling though? Sorry, Mike.
No, I was just saying Josh Gordon. Just so we close that topic off, is he's a Norv Turner receiver. I mean, that's a guy who Norv Turner knows how to use.
Maybe Norv Turner. You know,
I hate Norv Turner. Don't get me wrong. Right. I can't stand Norv Turner, but Josh Gordon is a guy that can be utilized by Norv Turner very well.
I mean, the idea that he's a great offensive coordinator may be true. I don't know. Those Dallas teams were like the greatest ever. I mean, they had such great personnel. It was like pre-free.
When you have Emmitt Smith, you're a great offensive coordinator.
Well, Emmitt Smith, 3 Pro Bowl linemen. Troy Aikman's in the Hall of Fame. Michael Irvin's is he in the Hall of Fame, or is he just like all the prison stuff is holding him back? Jay Novacek was good. I mean, they had a lot of pieces. You know, I mean, it's pretty much like, I don't know, anybody could have gotten, you know, Chan Gailey could have gotten something out of that, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking at like Richardson and Spiller. Probably not Spiller, like you said, he had more yards at least. But you know, we always talk about buy low, sell high. But which like slow starter are you actually selling? Are you like
you can't sell a slow starter in football. How can you sell one? I mean, I don't like Maurice Jones-Drew. I'm worried about him. But what am I going to get for him? You know?
Well, I'm actively trying to sell Maurice Jones-Drew. I'm not getting any value for him. I tried to trade him for Joke Bell. The guy said no.
Really?
Oh, that's ridiculous. I would trade Joke Bell.
It was Joke Bell and Ben Tate. Guy said no.
I mean, I see it. I mean, Ben Tate's been good, but you know, I don't want to make the 911 as a joke in this town joke.
Yeah.
But
I already do it Ole Jokinen in hockey, so there you go.
That's Ole Jokinen.
I've been using Herculean restraint not to say that on the radio, where people actually are listening. Unlike this video, if you're still watching this video segment, you have hit rock bottom.
Get help.
I knew I was at rock bottom when I was 26 minutes.
I was getting
into
upset
the
at a Joik Bell pun.
Yeah. You see that Twitter? Some guy told me to stop whining. It's so whiny. I need to change the channel every day. He's whining to me about my whining. Just stop listening, please. Please.
It's like some idiot on Twitter telling you that they're unfollowing because they don't like you tweeting about a particular topic.
Oh,
I had that one the other day.
I saw that. Oh, that was tremendous.
Yeah. You're tweeting too much about your alma mater. Unfollow. Ooh, burn. You got me there.
Right.
No, dude, but I'm the rude one. I was the rude one because I mocked him for unfollowing me, announcing he was unfollowing me. It's like, I am no longer your friend. You are no longer my bestie. Okay, fine.
Well, I mean, it's like, next time you won't put a gun to his head and make him follow you. That's just, you learned your lesson,
Yeah. I'll give him a full refund on what he paid for that.
Exactly.
Jeff _ Erickson, by the way, if you want to follow and unfollow me.
Please unfollow. By the way, I'm at a milestone of Twitter. I'm at a very round number, and I think I just went over it. I need one person to unfollow me. I need to get right back to that milestone. Okay? I hate when people say, I need 5 more followers to get to 2,000. Please follow me. Who cares? I don't care about your milestone. And how come you don't do the reverse when you get past 2,000?
I just want Darren Ravel to tell me how much it's worth to have and the number of followers I have and how much different it is that someone else has more than me. And I need to know that information right now.
Yes. I don't even know what that is, but I will tell you that that's not the key. The key is ratio from followers to followed. So you need to unfollow as many people as you possibly can to get your ratio up. Preferably 0. If you follow nobody, your ratio is infinity. Okay, that's the key.
I just don't want any followers in real life. That's fine. Just on Twitter only.
Yes. Well, that's a problem for you. A lot of people are following you as sort of a cult figure leading a movement.
Yeah, I think I accidentally sent one your way for a baseball question there, Jeff, because someone was asking me about Strasburg this week, and I'm like, I'm my last person you should talk to about fantasy baseball.
No, he already asked me. He's a forum shopper. He asked like 12 different people in the industry, and somehow it confused you with an expert. So
seriously, I don't know how
cure him of that. Disabuse him of that notion.
But by the way, don't do that. Don't ask 12 people the same question.
And copy all of us at the same time.
But even
I really love it when someone asks a Roto Experts guy and me the same question at the same time.
Right.
We're competitors. Nice guy and all, but we're competitors.
Yeah. It's kind of like this whole. It's kind of like the Google Plus platform, though. I mean, it's like there's like all these competitors jumbling with us. I don't even know what to tell people. But I will tell you this: stop watching this video at once. It's only getting worse. For the next 5 minutes before we end it, it's only going to get worse. You don't want to see what's next, except coming up next, the next Eddie Royal, the next Knowshon Moreno. There it is. Who is it, Jeff? You already said who it was. It's not going to be the guy you said, I guarantee.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the guy you said.
Who are you cursing?
Who are you cutting? Who are you cutting, Mike? Real fantasy advice. Now, let's go.
All right. So the person who I'm going to be cutting first. It depends on the injury with the ribs, but if Brandon Myers has some real rib problems or any kind of upper body injury, since I already have Julius Thomas, I'm probably going to end up cutting Brandon Myers just because I don't have enough space on my bench to actually keep anyone else around for that spot.
Wes, who are you cutting?
I mean, I'm cutting Malcolm Floyd. He has a concussion, and he's not what I'm waiting for. I mean, you want me to? I mean, I'm not cutting like my best players. I know you want me to shock the world. Yeah, I'm cutting Trent Richardson. I don't even have Trent Richardson in the league this year, but I'm cutting, Tony Romo. No, I'm not. I'm not cutting anybody good. I'm only cutting, the guys who got hurt. Sadly.
I didn't invest in a big time tight end. I thought Brent Selleck would be big against the Chargers. I'm cutting hit at bomb. No points last week there, and I left Antonio Gates on my bench in a direct challenge game. Really, it was an awesome move there.
A nice runner-up for me, Kenny Stills. I'm no longer going to wait around to try to guess which week he'll have a 90-yard reception for a touchdown. So he's another guy who I'm going to cut probably.
Is he a rich man or poor man's Devery Henderson?
Poor, very poor.
Who's a poor man's Dante Stallworth?
Exactly. Yeah. A guy with real speed, not the deceptive speed that you keep hearing about, but real speed with no catching ability.
But he is a better driver.
Okay,
so there's
guys.
That.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely a poor man's Dante Stallworth because he was driving a Rolls Royce when he ran over that guy. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. No, that's true. But I'll tell you this. This is the last thing we need to lead with. This is a very important question for this week. Jaguars plus 20 at Seattle. Who you got?
Jaguars.
Jeff?
I'm sick of taking the Jaguars. I'll take the Seahawks.
Laying 20. I got to take Jacksonville. Come on, plus 20.
I have to.
Everybody has to. That's just the point. We get screwed in this every year in staff picks. I end up taking the Raiders, the Jaguars, the same crappy teams every year because I got to take them. They're professionals. This line's preposterous. It's a trap. I'm Admiral Akbar of staff picks. It's a trap.
It's reverse. It's a reverse trap. But I will tell you something, though. Seattle's going to get drunk before this game. They're going to go out on Saturday night. They're going to be like, this is a joke that we're playing this team. They're going to be drunk. Jacksonville is going to be like, oh my God, I might lose my job. I'm going to do extra wind sprints leading up to this game. It's going to be. They're going to take it really seriously. Seattle's going to take it as a joke, and they're going to win by 9.
Yeah,
9 to nothing. That is.
How much more odds play do you need it to be to not take Seattle in Survivor this week?
Well, it doesn't because Denver is also getting 14 at home, laying 14 at home against Oakland, and so Denver's going to be a 90% game.
I'm taking Seattle.
Right. Well, Denver's going to be a 90% game, and Seattle's going to be a 95% game, right? So it's basically like Denver's twice as likely to lose, right? I mean, that's basically, the deal. But like, and so, you're going to need to you probably will get the odds because probably everyone will just take Seattle.
All I know is I remember 2 years ago when Denver at home got totally dunked on by Oakland and killed a lot of people in Survivor. They didn't just lose that game. They got demolished in that game.
And you know what? They were favored by 14 or 12 or something like that, too.
Yeah.
I don't like
this is a different
game.
squad. It's Peyton Manning versus Kyle Orton. So this was the beginning of Tebow, in fact. That's exactly the game it was. That was the game where Tebow got played in the third quarter. I remember that game now.
Yeah, and I just don't like doing Survivor picks on division games. For some reason, those tend to be kookier than others, so I try to stay away from them if I possibly can, unless it's the Jets, or I guess the Jags, but I tend to stay away from divisional matchups.
Unless it's one of the bottom 10 teams in the league, yeah.
Yeah, but those always tend to be kooky. Yeah.
Yeah, there are weird things that when teams know each other better, sometimes the overall disparity is not as great. Although I read something, it was Salfino, somebody did something in the Wall Street Journal showing that actually the percentage of double-digit underdogs in division games versus non-division, same rate of upsets, at least through like 2011.
Yeah. The line that I have my eye on, by the way, is the over/under on the Kansas City-Philadelphia game, currently at 50. I think that's way under. Way too low. It's going to be.
Yeah, but
Thursday
night is bad. Thursday night's under Central. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know, but I always say take the under on Thursday, but these are two teams that can score.
This is more like 10 points more than your average Thursday night game.
Here's what I would do. I could see both sides. I'd parlay the under and the over.
Just pay the vig. You're fine.
No, you don't pay the vig. You just lose your bet.
You'll just lose.
All right, perfect. I think that's a perfect way to head out on here.
That was the advice that we were holding back, and now you have it. Parlay the over and the under on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, for more nonsense, go to rotowire.com/G+. That's GPLUS. He's Mike Gottlieb. He's Chris Liss. I'm Jeff Erickson. Thanks for watching this garbage.